Good morning, everyone. Come on in. Come on down. Don't sit in the back. We can't see you very well if you're way up there. We're running on springtime time. I think it's the market. I think it's the weather. It's so beautiful outside today. It's hard to want to come inside to a meeting. So good morning again. I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. I'm Arlene Yobbs, Caar President, and I welcome you and those joining us remotely through GoToMeeting to our May Big Stage event. We'll have a little business to cover, but not as much as we sometimes do. So we'll keep our comments as brief as possible because we've got great information to share with you today. I'd like to take this opportunity to ask you to place your cell phones and electronic devices on silent or vibrate to avoid interruption. To get started with today's event, please stand and join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I would like to recognize today's sponsor, Movement Mortgage. Woo-woo! I would now like to invite Carl Garrett of Movement Mortgage to say a few words. Oh, now I did see Carl here too.
Carl's here, but he asked me to talk.
That's okay.
How are you, Arlen?
I'm good. Thank you.
Well, great. I'm not Carl. I'm Todd Jenkins with Movement, and we'd like to just take a couple minutes of your time. First of all, I'd like to introduce my group that we have here. First of all, Carl Garrett. So, Walt Simpson. Tiffany Jenkins. Okay. Tammy, I don't believe is here. Tammy Wilt is with us. Ben Aliff. Hey, Ben. And Jay Dominic is not here either. But yes, we are pleased to be your sponsor today. Last year, to share a few things about our company, we were the number 2 lender in our area for purchase-based transactions. We have been 1 or 2 in our area for the last 5 years. Last year, we tracked about 70% of our business came from realtor referrals. I share this because we want to take this opportunity, first of all, to say thank you. Thank you for your partnership. As a group and as a company, our day-to-day business is focused on helping all of you sell more homes. I would like to challenge each of you to call one of your favorite Movement mortgage loan officer and ask them to tell you something about the list I'm getting ready to read. Some sales tools that we think can help you. First of all, our Easy app is our award-winning online application that allows us to lead in technology while we still provide the local accountability you all know is so important in a successful transaction. Total Expert. We can provide marketing tools that you can control on your own, from listing flyers to websites for properties. Those are things that we can offer you. MBS Highway. Are you talking to a first-time buyer trying to decide if it's better for them to rent versus buy? We can provide you real-time figures that can help support the argument either way. Our 671 process, this is what drives our company. Our goals on every loan is to, once we submit the loan to underwriting, is for it to be underwritten in 6 hours. Our underwriters are all bonused, and last year, I think as a company, we maintained 6.1 hours and upfront underwriting. From there, we aim to process your loan in 7 days. Everybody in our process is bonused for that, and then 1 day to close. We actually track this. We actually set it as a goal as a company. Another thing, if you have a condominium that you're getting ready to list, we will do a pre-approval for a condominium association. So if we've all had issues with condos over the years, but that's an interesting thing that we will do. Our TBD program, make your borrower's offer stronger by giving them a competitive advantage and having a full underwriting letter. Lastly, one of the things that's very important to us as a local group and as our company is giving back. Last year, Carl applied for and got a $10,000 grant for AHIP from Movement. And so we're committed to that long term and something we're very excited about. So thank you. If one of these items causes some interest, give one of us a call. Let us take you to coffee or lunch. And again, have a wonderful day. Oh, and we're going to have a drawing. I almost forgot. All right. And so we got a drawing here, and it's going to be to come see Tiffany. She has a prize at Caar, a water bottle, or
a coffee tumbler in a color of your choice.
All right. Well, great. And read the last four. Bless. 798301.
All right, Jeff.
All right. Awesome. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Let's have another round of applause for today's sponsors. I would now like to ask Mary Catherine King to the stage. She will share some great details on the upcoming Shelter for Emergencies signature fundraising event, the Design House. Come on up, MK.
Thank you, Arlene. I want to also thank Movement for their support, not only of Caar, but of YPN. They've been a great sponsor for our events this year, so thank you guys again. Over the last 30 years, the Shelter for Help and Emergency continues to work to end domestic violence in our community. For the past several years and now on an every other year basis, a local homeowner opens their home and generously extends the use of their residents for the shelter signature event, Design House. Designers and their vendors are assigned to individual rooms and spaces to showcase their talents and latest interior design styles and techniques. The result is a unique tour for visitors where each room reflects a designer's creative vision and provides endless, inspiring ideas for the home. Design House this year will run from Saturday, May 5th to Sunday, May 20th. It is in the Wind River neighborhood, and you all should have received a postcard in your handout today with all the information needed. Typically, the single admission tickets for Design House are $20 per person, but today we are offering those to realtors for $15, so a $5 discount. Ticket sales, all ticket sales go directly to the Shelter for Help and Emergency. If you saw us out front earlier, great, and purchased your ticket. If not, please come find us after the event. We'll be here selling tickets after we're done. Caar, if you volunteer, or we are volunteering on Thursday, May 10th as a group to cover the shifts at Design House, such as shuttle driver, boutique sales, greeters, room hosts, and ticket sales. And if you volunteer, then you do not need to pay the $15 admission ticket. You can see the house for free on Thursday, May 10th. We still need about 10 volunteers, and you can do that at the table outside as well. If you can't volunteer on the Caar Day, which is the 10th, but you would still like to volunteer, please come see me because the event needs volunteers from the 5th to the 20th. Another thing to think about when you're thinking about tickets is, for myself, for example, I've taken my mother-in-law. It's Mother's Day on May 13th this year. For 4 years now, I've purchased a ticket for myself and my mother-in-law, or my mother, or another mother that you feel fondly about, to take them as a gift. That's a great way. And also for your clients. If you have clients who are currently in the process of maybe buying or building and they're looking for ideas for their home, this is a great place for them to get design ideas, and also maybe for you to have a touch with them. So thank you, and we hope that we will see you all at the Shelters Design House. Thank you.
This is always such a wonderful event when I've gone in the past. I'm also pleased to tag on to MK's remarks to share with you that that day of May 10th, there's actually a third shift in the afternoon from 4 to 7, and we've garnered up some of our CRS folks to man that session from 4 to 7, and we're just about full in that session, but we do still need a couple of shuttle drivers for that session too. It's again, you know, it's just a wonderful event, and we look forward to seeing y'all out there, and we appreciate your support of it and your help. Next, I would like to invite Young Professionals Network, let's just say YPN, Chair Jeff Maddie to the stage. He will provide us with an update of YPN and what's going on, and some exciting new activities coming up.
Thank you, Arlene. As you all may remember, YPN started a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club of Central Virginia back in 2016. This year, members of the YPN Planning Committee felt it was important to engage with this tremendous organization on a more regular quarterly basis. After discussing the needs of the organization, we decided that we wanted to encourage kids to adopt a healthier lifestyle. In order to do that, we've committed to donate, cut, and serve fresh fruit every quarter. So this past April, our committee worked side by side with 7 kids to cut and spoon fresh fruit cups for them to share with their classmates. Rachel Burns almost lost a finger, but aside from that, I think it was a rousing success. Really enjoyed it, and we look forward to the next event coming up in June. If you're interested in joining us for that, please feel free to reach out to myself or to Abby, and we'll make sure to keep you included on that. In addition to volunteering with the Boys and Girls Club last month, we also rolled up our sleeves and participated in an Albemarle Housing Improvement program, also known as AHIP Build Day. Lisa, the client that we helped, is a single mother of 2 sons, ages 9 and 2. Her older son had a typical boy's life until a complicated illness left him completely disabled. He now relies solely on a wheelchair to get around. And when the need for a ramp was identified by AHIP, Denise Ramey stepped up with a generous donation to jumpstart the project. So thank you, Denise. To ensure the longevity of the ramp, YPN's task was to apply a stain, and we did that successfully despite very windy conditions. If you haven't volunteered with AHIP before, I definitely recommend that you do and help our neighbors of need. I would also like to thank Movement Mortgage, who sponsored our happy hour once we were done with the build day. It was well enjoyed and much appreciated. Now for a couple of events that you can look forward to. Next week, YPN will be hosting an happy hour, which will take place on Wednesday the 9th from 4 to 6 at Cardinal Hall. We'll be showcasing several apps that can streamline your business and help make your day-to-day lives a little bit easier. Registration for this is $10, and it includes 1 drink ticket as well as appetizers. We'd like to thank our happy hour sponsor, George Mason Mortgage, for their kind donation. And lastly, mark your calendars, we will be hosting a YPN cookout on Wednesday, June 6th from 4:30 to 6:30. The exact location and details are still being determined, but mark your calendars and we'll keep you posted. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Jeff. That sounds really great. And just as a reminder, the YPN Happy Hour is it's open to everyone. It's not just for YPN members. It's open to everyone, and I think that maybe there's a few of those apps that would be beneficial to some of us more oldster members of Caar too. So I look forward to being there and learning. We will now move on to our main presentation, Real Estate Public Relations and Facebook Strategies. It's my pleasure to introduce today's speaker, Maura Neal. Maura, come on up. Maura is a second-generation realtor who combines her love for the industry with her passion for education. She leads her team and works with buyers and sellers daily and speaks nationally on real estate technology, building your business via social media, customer service, and client retention. A lover of all things Atlanta, Maura lives in Johns Creek, Georgia, with her husband, Ben, their beagles, Charlie, Jarvis, and Bibi, and a cat who wishes to remain anonymous. Please help me to welcome today's featured speaker, Maura Neal.
Good morning. This is such a fabulous stage. I feel like I should tap dance or something, but I won't. Those days are long gone. I'm so excited to be here. As Arlene said, I'm a realtor just like all of you. So while there are great speakers in real estate, my favorite ones are the ones that still practice, that work with buyers and sellers, whether they're solo or they have a team. My team is very small, and a little disclaimer before we get into some of the strategies that I'm going to talk about today. I did a version of all of these before I was a team. My team is my husband and myself, who are full-time realtors. We have one full-time assistant, and my mother, who got bored when she retired and decided to get a real estate license without telling anyone, and said, I'm going to come work for you. But she does showing assistant work, and then she runs off and spends 2 weeks a month with the grandkids in North Carolina. So I don't have a large team. I'm not, 10 people and a marketing director and a this and a that. So anything that I talk about today, whether you have a team and you have people to help you, or you are a solo agent, you can make these strategies work for you. I like to start off any presentation that has to do with social media or digital strategies, online business strategies, with a little video by a gentleman named Eric Qualman. You can find his YouTube channel if you go to YouTube and search E. Qualman, which actually is spelled Equal Man, E-Q-U-A-L-M-A-N. And what I find interesting about this is I think it gets us into the right mindset for what we're going to talk about today. Where is the world's population? What are we doing online? What are some interesting facts about the way that our online behavior affects our everyday lives? 2016 version. He hasn't released his 2017 video yet, and Vine is already gone. Vine no longer exists. So how quickly things move. And if 30% of the world's population is under 30, but the fastest growing demographic on Facebook and Twitter is baby boomer women. So what does that tell you? It's not a generational, there's not really a generational gap. 93% of people are making their purchase decisions, products they purchase, service providers they hire, based on recommendations on social media. But only 14% of people trust advertising, which is what we say about ourselves. But 90% of them trust peer reviews and recommendations, which is basically public relations. It's what other people are saying about you. So what is PR to us as realtors? It's a way to communicate with the media and communicate with your community without bombarding them with advertising messages. So what a lot of realtors do on social media is just bad, right? Pushing out your listings and your open houses and constantly talking about how great you are and how busy you are, and ooh, I wrote a contract today, and ooh, I went to a closing today, and I got 3 new buyers this weekend. What does the consumer think when they see that? You're basically, well, you're too busy for us, but yay, applause for you. You're basically doing your job, right? And most consumers don't want to applaud you for meeting their expectations. Their expectations is that you're meeting with buyers and you're listing property and you're going to closings because that's what you're supposed to be doing. Most consumers are going to recognize when you exceed expectations, and that's where the public relations piece comes in. It's a way to promote your business to new audiences, but again, without giving yourself a big old pat on the back, and it's a way to be recognized as the local expert. Showing your expertise is great public relations. Talking about how great you are and how you're the #1 agent in your office and you're a top producer, which consumers don't understand what that means, that's just a way to annoy them and make them unfollow you on Facebook. So let's talk a little bit about advertising versus public relations, because we're going to want to have a really basic understanding as we go through. Really, this is the best illustration of advertising versus public relations that I could give you. Advertising is you saying, I am so good at everything I do. I'm the best realtor in the world, and that's why everyone hires me, which really means that you have a lot of time to sit on Facebook and talk about how great you are because no one's hiring you, right? But public relations is what everyone else is saying about you, why you're great, someone who's used your services, someone who's bought and sold property with you, saying they are a really great company and here's why I use them. There's a reason that Yelp and TripAdvisor and Zillow are so popular for their online review portals. And that's because they are basically providing PR. They're providing a way for consumers to share their experiences with companies and service providers and put out messaging that actually is better for you, better for you than what you could ever say about yourself. So when we look at, when you think about from the time you wake up in the morning until the time you go to bed, from the very first advertising message that slaps you in the face. So how many of you are like me where you wake up and your iPhone or your Samsung Galaxy or whatever your smartphone is also your alarm clock, right? So your alarm clock goes off and you reach over and you turn it off, and the first thing you do is you open up Facebook. Thank you. Yes, I'm addicted too. We'll start a group. But from that very first moment, you're hit with advertising messages. It used to be that it wasn't until you had your coffee in your hand and maybe you turned on the Today Show or Good Morning America, but now it's while you're lying in bed. You're lying in bed, you're perusing Facebook, you're getting hit with ads. Or if you use a clock radio, which I don't even remember the last time I had one of those, but if you use a clock radio and the radio comes on and you're hearing advertising, from the time you wake up in the morning till the time you go to bed, how many advertising messages do you think that you are bombarded with on a daily basis? Hundreds? Thousands? Yes? Who goes with thousands? 5,000. Think about everything that you see driving down the street, neon signs flashing, grocery store ads, walking through the store, even in Starbucks. How many advertisements does Starbucks have on placards all over the store? So we're hit with 5,000 messages. Let's not be part of that noise. Elevate your brand and your business so that you are not contributing to the noise, but you're actually giving people a reason to hire you. So think about our habits as consumers versus salespeople. As consumers, we skip commercials, unless you're my mother, who will always and forever sit at Sunday dinner with me and say, oh my gosh, did you see that really great new commercial? And I just say, no, I haven't watched a commercial since the Super Bowl, and I don't plan to watch another one until the Super Bowl again. We subscribe to Pandora and Spotify, and we actually will pay a monthly fee so we don't have to listen to advertising. We put ourselves on the do not call list. We throw out junk mail. You know, we do that walk from the mailbox to the trash can, and we sort out all the things, and you're lucky if you get like one thing worth keeping, right? We use spam filters. We delete emails without even opening them if they even look like spam, right? If they even look like it's a marketing message, we're deleting it. We use pop-up blockers on our browsers. But as salespeople, maybe not you in this room personally, but as salespeople, what are we known for? Buying ad time. Teaching people to prospect by cold calling, but not teaching them to do it well. Sending out just listed and just sold cards that have no tracking on them, so there's no way for us to know if we're actually getting a return on investment. We're just blanketing neighborhoods with things that they're going to sort between the mailbox and the garbage can and throw away, right? We buy email lists, we send newsletters out to people who don't know us, or we send newsletters out to people who do know us, and it's just a marketing message. Here's another reason why I'm amazing and you should hire me. We're not sending them stuff that they actually want to see. We buy online ads, we mail unsolicited mailings to geographic farms, we don't follow up, we're not consistent, we don't have a 6 or a 9 or a 12-month marketing plan. We say, oh, I'm going to send out a just listed, and then 30 days later when it sells, I'm going to send out a just sold, and I'm going to expect my phone to ring. So when I started in real estate, I was on a team, and my team leader, who is my now ex-mother-in-law, and we can have that conversation sometime over cocktails, that was her plan. Her marketing plan was every time we get a listing, we're going to send a just listed, and every time it sells, we're going to send a just sold. And then we're going to wait for everyone in that neighborhood to call us because that's how amazing we are. Well, what happens when that's your first time in that neighborhood? That's the first time they've seen your name or they've seen your face on a postcard. Is 2 times enough to hit somebody for them to pick up the phone? No. And what trust and credibility are you establishing with them? So we're not even making our efforts consistent, long enough, or trackable in order for them to work. So interruptive marketing is what we call this. When you're interrupting someone's day, whether it is sending something to them via email that they have to delete, or you're sending them junk mail that they're just going to end up sorting through and throwing away. Like, how many messages did you see or hear on the drive to class? We sort our mail, we wake up and delete. That's the first thing I do once I open my email. How many of you check all the little boxes down the majority of the things on the top of your inbox and just hit the trash button? So we have to be more selective about what we're sending. We have to stop buying generic email newsletters and sending them out. How many of you get email marketing from other agents? How many of you get the exact same newsletter from multiple agents because they bought a newsletter? Absolutely. I get the exact same recruiting emails from different brokers from the same company in my market. I screenshotted one morning, I had 5 of the exact same subject line from 5 different brokers as recruiting emails. I screenshotted it and sent it to all 5 of them, and I said, this is not working. Only one of them answered me back and said, but you opened mine, right? Oh, no, I didn't open any of them. I then hit delete. And we skip commercials. So what do we learn from this? What's the lesson? The lesson is we're doing it wrong. And if any of you see that movie with Michael Keaton from the early 80s called Mr. Mom? And the little boy, and he's struggling to do the laundry and find the whoopee and get the kids fed. And the little boy was like, you're doing it wrong. That's us. We're doing it wrong. So how do we do it better? Well, first is we make a vow to not contribute to the noise. We've got to stop putting advertising messages out that are noisy, that are just us talking with no purpose, with no trackability, and with no real messaging. And we have to understand that there's a place for advertising. What should you be advertising? Anybody? Homes, your listings, right. Listing advertising is a legitimate form of advertising. You should be talking about how great that listing is. Even the ones that aren't so great. I have those. Do you get those? Where you're like, I wish I could think of nice things to say about this house. I'm digging real deep. So there's a place for advertising. What else should you be advertising? Services. What do you do? And how do you do it? You should advertise your open houses. That's the place for advertising in our business. Everything else you should consider to be a form of public relations, which means in as many cases as possible, getting someone else to say it for you. So this is what it's not. PR is not advertising your listings because that's advertising. It's not fishing for new clients because consumers are very suspicious these days, right? They know when you're just trying to hook them. They know when you're just trying to talk about yourself and grab a new client. One of the most annoying things I see on Facebook is the agent who says, I'm all out of listings, the market is so hot, right? What does that say to consumers? Think about, what does the consumer think that you're supposed to be doing? Listing houses, right? What happens when you're out of listings? Do they think, wow, she's really good at selling houses, she sold them all? No, they think, did she ever have any to begin with? How can you be out? How can you run out of inventory, right? They don't understand the way we understand the market. So we've got to be careful. What we think is effective is actually very much not. And it's definitely not you screaming from the rooftops, me, 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 this is how great I am. So, and just to give you a little bit, because we are in the digital age now and social media is such an integral part of our lives, we need to be aware of traditional public relations, which is sort of what you might think of when you think of a PR rep, you know, someone who does damage control when somebody in a company makes a big faux pas, right? Especially now, like think of Harvey Weinstein. You know, I don't even want to think about what his production company, what is PR? If I was his public relations representative, I would just quit. Bill Cosby, you know, when you can't think of anything nice to say, you kind of just need to stop working for them. But traditional PR is that damage control or the pushing of a product. It's pre-digital, it's pre-social media. Buy our product, we're gonna push out these messages to you. It's very similar to advertising. Content PR is the world we live in now. This is the world of social media and digital marketing, talking about being a helpful expert, positioning yourself as a local expert, working to attract an audience. Facebook business pages have become so tricky. How many of you have a Facebook business page? They're very tricky, right? Because Facebook is constantly moving the goalpost. They're constantly changing their algorithm, making it more and more and more difficult, even for the people who have liked your page, to see what you're posting, because why? They want you to pay. They want you to make money. So how do you get people to keep coming back? You work harder to give them what they want. And you work to attract an audience rather than just assume that your information is going to show up in their feed. Or you pay Facebook, which is also not a bad tactic for advertising. And it's multimedia and it's interactive. So it means having a Facebook business page, having a YouTube channel, maybe being on Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat. How do you decide which social media platforms to spend your time on?
Where your sphere is.
Thank you. How many of you just go to the place that you find the most fun? Like, I really love Facebook, so I'm just going to hang out there. That's not a great tactic, right? Or I love to take pictures. I'm going to post a bunch of pictures on Instagram, but I'm not going to use hashtags, and I'm not going to make it searchable, and I'm not going to follow people back. All of social media, to make the time suck worth your time, is about having a strategy. So we want it to be multimedia, we want it to be interactive, we want you to be in a couple of different places, but acknowledging that you need to be where your sphere is, you need to know where your business is coming from, which means tracking it, knowing that where your leads come from, and knowing where the most viable leads come from. You might say, well, I know that I got 780 leads last month from Facebook alone, from Zillow alone. Well, that's great. How many of them closed? How many of them agreed to sit down with you for a consultation? How many of them actually turned into clients who signed a brokerage agreement with you and started a relationship with you and turned into closings? So it's about knowing where our leads come from and then knowing where to spend our time online. If you know that you're getting 780 leads a month from Facebook, from Zillow, but none of them are closing, do we need to keep gosh, why do I keep doing that? I didn't have enough coffee this morning. They wouldn't let me bring it in. We know that giving your money to Zillow and constantly asking for reviews on Zillow may not be the best idea if that's where your numbers are leading you. But we only know that by tracking. So being in multiple places, making your content interactive, but also acknowledging that it takes some homework on your part. Tracking every lead and every closing and knowing where your business comes from so that you know where to spend your time and your dollars. So, let's talk a little bit. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I know from experience that not a lot of people in this room are going to do this, but the ones who do are going to have success. So for those of you who want to do something a little bit different, this part's for you. So part of public relations is communicating with the media. Back in 2010, I started a website. My friend Dale Chumbley and I out in Vancouver, Washington, and our friend Don Thomas in Silicon Valley, we had this sort of crazy idea that we were going to start a real estate website that we didn't talk about real estate on. And we were going to try to get business from it, and we called it 365 Things to Do. So I had 365atlanta.com. Dawn had 365 Things to Do in Silicon Valley, and we promised each other that we would write one blog post a day for how many days? 365. I don't recommend that. It led to a lot of burnout. I will proudly say that I won with 391 days straight, and then I never wanted to write another word ever again. But part of what it taught me was that our relationship with the media, with journalists, with bloggers, can be really important and viable part of our businesses. It's a great way to see and show that you are the local expert without you talking about it a lot. So the first thing I did when I started realizing that I was writing blog posts about shopping and dining and music festivals and things to do in Atlanta, and things for anyone who was unfamiliar with the city or relocating there or looking for things to do and new places to go, I was noticing that other public relations professionals were noticing my blog. And I thought, well, that's weird. When you have over 2,000 likes on your Facebook page in the first week, you think, well, that's weird. I'm on to something. So I started compiling a list. I started doing what any other PR professional would do, which is compile a press list. So I went through my local paper. You can also, now it's so much easier to find them online because a lot of traditional journalists, whether they're on television or radio or they write for your local paper or even like the weekly papers or the dailies, they have social media presences. So it's a lot easier to find them online. So what do you want to make note of? Their name, their email address. Almost everyone has their email address and or their Twitter handle in their byline these days, right? Because they are encouraged to communicate with consumers for story ideas. The more, and a lot of them even have their own Facebook kind of fan pages, business pages, because the more they are proactive with keeping themselves visible, the longer a career longevity they're going to have, especially in this day and age of newspapers failing, right? So who do they work for or write for, and what type of article do they write? Why is it important to know what type of article they write? You don't want to send a real estate interest story to the sports editor, right? Because it won't even make it off his desk. So you want to kind of pay attention. So if you're looking in the community interest pages or you're looking in the real estate section, make a note of what they specialize in. What types of articles do they write? And then connect with them. Either send them an email and introduce yourself or connect with them on social media, especially Twitter. Journalists love Twitter because of its real-time value, especially in the cases of when there's something happening. Like I know a lot of journalists are really active in the South when there's a lot of storms, right? And when the tornadoes are coming through and they're posting real-time updates. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to where they are the most active. You want to establish rapport and credibility with them. Introduce yourself. Compliment them on a recent story. Let them know that you're reading about them. Give them story ideas. You are a local expert, and this is very important. When one of our local country clubs was facing foreclosure, and the neighborhood wanted to band together and buy the club itself out of foreclosure, and the bank was roadblocking them, my ex-business partner and I said, well, why don't we contact a couple local reporters and see if we can get some interest in this? Next thing you know, they're talking about it on the Consumer Reports page, they're talking about it in the community interest pages, and sure enough, the bank backed off and let the neighborhood homeowners buy the club out of foreclosure. The bank saw a great way for them to make a profit. Ooh, maybe we can own a country club. But it wasn't going to be the right thing for the neighborhood. So you will have ideas. You will have stories to pitch. You might be the one who knows the story first. You can scoop them and give them the idea and perhaps get quoted in the paper. My ex-partner lived in that neighborhood, and she was quoted in a bunch of different coverage stories about this, and it definitely led to business for us. And of course, you want to be able to send them press releases in the future about things that you have going on. Maybe you have community events going on. Maybe you work closely with a charity. But you want to be able to establish rapport with them now so that when you do have an event, maybe you're opening a new brokerage, like someone I know in this room. Maybe you want to have somebody who will cover that brokerage opening for you, and you don't want to send them a press release totally cold. You want to have already had that rapport with them. And converse with them on social media. And don't discount bloggers. So as a former blogger who was blogging a lot, I got invited to a lot of restaurant openings, music festivals. I got to be a taste tester at Taste of Marietta. I ate way too much food that day and got sick. But there were like 57 restaurants. We had to taste one bite of all of their entries. It was overwhelming. But don't discount bloggers. Blogging is still a huge part of our online digital world. So how many of you have heard of these mommy bloggers who actually now have a career? Some of them make up into the six figures by blogging about products and services that they try, reviewing products, helping to sell them through PR efforts to other moms just like them. So local bloggers can be really valuable to you as a realtor. Find out who they are and connect with them, and then invite them to things. If you do an annual client party, invite them. Ask them to cover your party. They'll say amazing things about you, and then what? All of their readers are going to be, when they're looking for a realtor, who are they going to be calling? Hopefully you. Think about when you do an open house, especially a really unique one. What's happening a lot in our market now is agents are doing evening open houses, and they're partnering with service providers and doing like wine and cheese. Check with your local legal counsel about giving out alcohol. That's my disclaimer. But if you're doing unique things like that, invite bloggers to cover them. In some ways, they are more legitimate now than the actual traditional media. They're getting a larger readership because they're seen as being more trustworthy because they're acting alone rather than under the umbrella of a major news organization. Think about your client events. If you do charity events, I know Philip Becker in San Antonio, Texas, he does a bunch of charity events every year. He has a nonprofit that helps people who can't afford their home upkeep. He works with a local animal shelter every year to refurbish their dog park area. He actually turned them, they were 100% kill because they just didn't have any money and they didn't have any way to do advertising, and now they're almost 0% kill shelter, which is an amazing development. But he has relationships with more bloggers in his market than he does actual traditional journalists. So think about connecting with them and saying, I'd love for you to come and cover this event that I'm doing. And then, of course, you need to know how to write a great press release. So I'm going to post, just so you know, I'm going to give you access to all of the slides, and I'm going to show some video later. You'll have access to all of this at the end. I'm going to give you a link at the end, so feel free to take notes. I know this is small. You'll have a readable version on my website, and I'm not trying to sell you anything, so I have nothing to sell. I haven't written a book or selling you my materials. I just want to make sure that you can have access. But knowing how to write a great press release, which you can see all of this once you pull up a version that you can download online, but the most important part is you write it in third person, but you include quotes, and sometimes they're quotes from yourself. And that seems a little awkward, right? Why am I going to write about myself in third person and include quotes? Maura said, I love doing this event every year because it brings my clients out and it fulfills the community need to give blood. Why would I have a quote in third person from myself in a press release? They will very, very likely use it. And the great thing is, if you have a well-written enough press release that you can easily write yourself, I'm going to give you two different examples. You can totally copy the format. You write a couple paragraphs about the event. You include 2 or 3 quotes, either from yourself or your broker or someone else who's relevant to what you're talking about. In a lot of cases, they're going to use your quotes and write the article without even calling you. They might not have time to come out and cover your event, but if they see it as newsworthy, they'll just pull your quotes, rearrange and rewrite a little bit so it fits their writing style, and you might find that you have an article in the paper that you didn't even know was coming out. So what do you want to do? Write it in the third person. Always, always proofread. The former English teacher in me dies a little inside every time I see bad spelling and punctuation and grammar. I used to walk around the halls of my college with a red pen, my friend and I, and we used to correct people. We were in the music school for undergrad. We used to correct people's music recital posters when they had misspellings and bad grammar. It's really obnoxious, but please proofread. There's a great website called Grammarly that you can use that will do it for you. There's a free version and a paid version. Stay on topic. When you write a press release, you don't want to give them your entire bio and your whole backstory. You want to stay on, if you're writing about a charity event that you're holding, you just want to talk about the charity event. You don't want to go off on a tangent about how, you won Realtor of the Year back in 1984, and, you list every single brokerage you've ever been a part of. Stay on the topic. Include a couple of images, because again, if they publish your story without coming to you and covering the event or calling you for an interview, they may want 1 or 2 images. So maybe it's a headshot that's recent. Yeah? No glamour shots from 1985 with like rhinestone studded denim and a feather boa. Make sure it looks like you. And then maybe 1 or 2 images of the event that if you've done it in past years. The first press release I ever did for my business was back in 2006, and we were holding our first annual Trick or Treat for the Troops, which is we send care packages. We collect all through October, and then we send care packages to troops who are deployed during the holiday season. Well, it was our first year, so we had no photos. So we went to my attorney's office with a bunch of boxes, and I went to Walmart and bought a bunch of toiletries, and we pretended we were packing boxes for the troops. Smile, we're packing boxes. And those are the images that got posted alongside our team photo and a picture of my brother in Iraq. So include a couple of images. A couple personal quotes, we talked about that. Email the press release in the body of the email. This one's important. They're not going to download an attachment and open it up and read it. They want to be able to open your email and read what you have to say. And if they're interested and you've caught them and you've hooked them and you've got their attention, then they'll keep reading. And then keep it short and concise. Don't go on for 77 paragraphs about how great your event is. Keep it to 5 to 7 with a couple quotes in there. Don't give your entire bio. Don't underestimate the power of a good headline. Put that headline at the top of your press release, but also in your subject line, so that the journalist is going to be sure to open your email. There's nothing worse than a great press release with a bad subject line, because it just won't get opened. And you want to entice them with all of the emails. Think about how many emails you get. And then think about if you were a journalist getting bombarded with story ideas and press releases and all that stuff. About the same amount. So you want to be one that they open. Don't send it more than a week before your desired runtime, unless you're sending it to a monthly publication. If you've got an event in the beginning of June, send it in about 2 or 3 weeks. If you send it now, it's going to get buried in their email with all the other story ideas, and you'll never get published. And then, of course, don't forget that spelling, grammar, and punctuation. And then follow up with them. Give it a couple days, and then shoot them a follow-up email, or tweet them, or give them a call and say, hey, I just wanted to make sure you got my email. This is going to be a really great event. I hope that you can give it some coverage. And then where do you send it? You send it to the reporter or the editor in the appropriate geographic location who covers that subject matter. So you don't want to send it to somebody who writes for a paper in a different town just because you've compiled this massive press list and you're like, I'm just going to send it to everybody, because then everyone will hate you a little bit, right? You want to make it known that you're sending it just to the people that you think it's the most appropriate for. So if you are sponsoring a Little League team, then you might send it to the sports editor and the community activities or community stories editor. But if you're doing a charity event like a blood drive, you definitely don't want to send that to the sports editor because it's not going to get any play time. No pun intended. So make sure that you're sending it to the right people. And when do you write a press release? You're hosting an event that interests the area at large, or you're hosting an event that benefits a local group or a charity. And the nice thing about this is when you're hosting a charity event, or when you're talking about maybe you're doing a tasting for your clients at a new restaurant that's opening, or one of the things that we like to do is partner with local restaurants when they release their seasonal menus, because you can bring in 8 or 10 of your A-plus clients. So you're double dipping now. You're creating a fun VIP event for your A-plus clients, the ones who give you the most business and send you the most referrals, but you're also promoting another small business. So now you're getting the attention of, this is a touch for those clients, you're making them feel special, it's kind of like a mini client appreciation event, and you're promoting another small business owner, which means anything that gets written about you gets written about them, and you're going to get double the coverage because they're going to share it too. And from a social media perspective, that's huge. Or even if you're just writing about the event on your Facebook page or on your blog and you're tagging them, that restaurant is going to share it, or that boutique owner is going to share it. So think about your small, locally owned restaurants that release seasonal menus, seasonal cocktail menus. We love to do cocktail tastings with our A-plus clients. We like when a brewery releases a new seasonal beer. We have a lot of craft breweries in Atlanta. We like to host a little, we keep tabs of who likes beer, who likes wine, who likes cocktails, because we have hours and hours with these people in the car, right? So if you're keeping great notes about your clients, you know their likes and their dislikes, and then you can compile a neat little group of 8 or 10 people. You know they all love craft beer, and you can say, hey, Reformation Brewery is releasing their new summer ale next week, but they've invited us this week to try it first. You want to go? And what a great little event for your clients. And then it's a great PR event too. Invite some of those bloggers. Say, hey, I've got the in to go taste this beer a week before they release it. Do you want to come so you can write about it on your website? Then you also want to write about what a great realtor I am because I'm bringing my clients in for this event too, right? Or if you've won a prestigious award or you've hit a major milestone. So what constitutes a prestigious award or a major milestone? Is it that you had your first closing for May? No. Is it that you got Realtor of the Year? Yeah, sure. Why not? Or that you just got elected president of your association? Absolutely. Or maybe you won, maybe your brokerage has, on the national level has different levels of production awards and you're in the top 1%. Those are press release worthy. But we've got to be careful that we're not writing too many like, I had 7 closings in April, I'm going to write a press release, right? Not major enough. For you, absolutely. Maybe not for the rest of the world. Come on. And then this is what's nice to see. When you do get something picked up in the local paper and your clients see it before you do and they tag you in it on Facebook. That's where it kind of comes full circle, right? And what I can tell you is, this is from 2014, but the reason that I love this is word for word verbatim the press release that I sent out to our local paper. They lifted it straight from my press release. They used the headshot that I sent them. They used the quote from our board president that I said, hey, you want to write me a quick quote? I'm writing this press release. He sent me a quick quote, word for word, printed in 3 different local weeklies. So, and it's really nice when your clients are like, hey, I opened up my paper this morning and there was your face, right? So that's even more play because it means that not only are your people seeing it, but then they're posting it about it on Facebook. So would you write this press release? Hey, I got a new listing. When is a listing press release worthy? When it's the right house, right? This is a press release worthy listing. Oldest home in Buckhead for sale. There's a story there, especially if you're going to hold an open house. And maybe this comes out on Friday and the open house is on Sunday, right? What about this one? I had a closing. No. But what if it's a record-setting closing? That's a pretty big deal, right? This is also a little bit of clickbait, because what I can tell you is the Cheetah is a strip club. So this paper capitalized on the fact that the owner of the strip club sold the highest selling priced condo in Atlanta. So of course that's a little bit of like, ooh, let's see what his condo looked like, right? Newspapers and digital media in general are notorious for that, right? And side note, if you ever come to Atlanta, I've never been here, just disclaimer, but according to one of my friends who's a chef and owns a restaurant, this is where you get the best fried chicken in Atlanta. Now you have to go and eat it in a strip club, which I'm not gonna do. But I've heard that this is the best fried chicken in Atlanta. So there's your tidbit. But that would be a press release worthy closing, right? Because if it's a record-setting price, then all of a sudden, your run-of-the-mill closing, which consumers think we should be getting listings and having closings practically every day, this becomes, I'm going to write a press release about this. What about this one? I was #1 in my office this month. You know why I think this is funny? I have a really good friend in Nashville. Her name is Cher Powers. She's the #1 agent in her office every month because she's the only agent in her office. She's a broker owner, so we joke all the time about how the stuff that we say about ourselves online and how does that translate to the consumer. Well, she can honestly say, I'm the #1 agent in my office every month. Month over month, year over year, no one has ever beat me, ever. That's how good I am. Even if I have no closings, I'm still #1, right? So we have to be careful that it's kind of like when you talk about your designations, right? ABR, CRS, CDPE, ePro. Consumers don't know what that is until you tell them. They don't understand what top producer means, and saying that you're #1 means almost nothing. So we have to qualify things. So unless that you got a major award, it's probably not worth writing about. And then if you do get a major award, you need to make sure that when you write about it in a press release or on your own website or on your blog or if you're posting on your Facebook business page, you're explaining what it means. That gives it credibility. Just saying you're the #1 agent in your office, some consumers will be like, that's amazing, good for you. And some will be like, out of how many? How many agents are in your office? How many times in a row have you been #1? Those data seekers are gonna question you. So we have to be careful that we're explaining it. If it is a major award, write about it. It'll get you some attention online and potentially in the paper. But most importantly, you want to portray yourself as the local expert. This is what the media and journalists and bloggers are looking for. They're looking for, on a consistent basis, people that they can call to get quotes, to contribute to stories. Their career longevity is only as good as their readership. And if they are consistently producing stories that get read and that have quotes that they can back up, then they look better. So establishing that rapport with journalists in your area means that you are able to show not only that you're the local expert, but then they're going to add credibility to that claim by calling you when they need somebody. So you got to know what your area of expertise is, what is your niche. Why should they see me as the expert? What makes me an expert over other realtors? Maybe it's that, and what is your niche of expertise? Maybe you attend every planning and zoning and development meeting. Maybe you work side by side with the city planners and you understand the challenges that are faced when there needs to be, road repair done, potholes after a particularly bad winter, the challenges of putting in sidewalks in a neighborhood that's been screaming for sidewalks, challenges behind an HOA that's having trouble. You understand those things, but you've got to let people know, and you've got to figure out how to communicate that expertise to them. Once you do, you will start to be the one that they go to. If you are connected to a specific part of your community, let them know. This is something that I'm very involved in. If you ever have a story that you need a quote, please feel free to call me. Oh, and by the way, if I ever see something that I think you need to know about, I'm going to let you know. I'm going to let you know when the local farmers market is going to start charging the farmers for their booths, which makes it financially unfeasible for them to continue coming and selling their wares. which is something that happened in Atlanta, when the owner of the parking lot decided, wow, there's people here every weekend. I'm just going to start charging all these farmers where we've never charged them before. And then all of a sudden, the largest farmers market in the Southeast was in danger of closing. I saw one of my friends who's a chef and a restaurant owner talking about that on Facebook, and I tweeted it out to a couple of my journalist friends, and they had him on the 6 o'clock news talking about what a travesty it would be for that farmer's market to close. Now, did they quote me? No. But I sent them a story idea that got them a lot of play. So do you think that now they come to me when they have quotes on things? Absolutely. So it's even if you don't get the airtime every single time, you're still showing them that you have access to the community at a grassroots level because they can't be everywhere at once. So think about that. So let's get into a little bit more on Facebook, because a lot of what we're talking about, yes, it's communicating with the media and it's communicating with bloggers, but hopefully it is producing, in some way, shape, or form, posts or articles or some type of digital media that's written about you or that quotes you, that keeps you from having to talk about yourself. So when you have a blogger who comes out and covers a great event that you're doing, you're going to share the link to that blog post, and all of a sudden it's not you talking about how great your event is going to be. It's this other person saying, this local realtor is doing great things in the community. Here's an opportunity to go meet her this Saturday at her blood drive, right? So Chris Brogan says, always have something to sell, but don't always be selling. What a great quote. We all have something to sell all the time. And I think that's the downside of our business and the advent of social media, is it makes us want to talk about ourselves and how great we are and our services all the time. But when you're constantly the one who's talking about it, it's really difficult for the consumer to not get skeptical about you. So how did we, and we also have to figure out how we went from this to this. Social media should be like a dinner party. You should be engaging with people online. It's not just about the one-sided posting and hoping that people are reading what you're putting out there and hoping that they'll just come to you. It shouldn't be about sitting there and posting all the time and not creating any engagement. We've got to think about social media and our time there as a dinner party or a cocktail party, where not only are we contributing to the conversation, but we're listening to others as well. And think about the fact that potential clients are going to find you there. NAR says the average consumer wants to stay anonymous for about 2 months before they reach out to you. That's a long time for them to be watching what you're posting on Facebook, right? If you're not posting engaging material that's interesting, that's not just talking about your new listing and your next open house, but if you're not talking about things that are affecting your local market and showing a little bit of your own personality and who you are, then they might go away and start stalking someone else and never get to pick up the phone. So NAR says the average consumer likes to stay anonymous for about 2 months. Google says it's more like 2 years. So think about those consumers who aren't quite ready to buy or who aren't quite ready to sell, and they found a great blog post that you wrote, or they stumbled across your website or your Facebook page, or their neighbor recommended you, and they've started to check you out. Abby said that her husband last night was asking her, who's the speaker tomorrow? And she gave my name, and she said that he immediately he went to my website, and he went to my Facebook page, and he said, oh, when you meet her, you need to talk to her about bourbon, bacon, and her beagles. I always know when our potential clients are stalking us, because we'll walk into a listing appointment or we'll meet someone for a buyer consultation and they'll ask me how my dogs are. Or they'll ask me what my favorite brewery is in Atlanta. Or they'll say, how was dinner last night at Foundation? We noticed that you go there a lot. That's our favorite place. We're there like once a week. So you know that they've been stalking you, and you know that they feel like they know you when you start to get those questions on the very first meeting. And you can kind of figure, how many of you kind of feel like when you walk into one of those meetings and they start asking you those personal questions, like, how are the beagles? Or one of our beagles recently died, and we walked into an appointment, and the woman had a dog, and I was playing with the dog. I get very distracted in listing appointments. Like, I forget that I'm there to see the house if there's a dog. So I'm playing with the dog. And I stood up and I said, I just love dogs. And she gave me a big hug, which I was like, this is awkward. Why is she touching me? And she said, I saw that one of your beagles died. I'm so sorry. I knew I was getting that listing. But how many of you feel that way? When they start asking you the personal stuff right off the bat, they feel like they know you. So all of a sudden, that personal connection is trumping the services that you're about to talk about, right? In a lot of cases. So on your Facebook personal profile, think of that as a networking opportunity. How many of you have your privacy settings completely locked down where only your friends can see what you post? Good. How many of you don't really know how to change your privacy settings? Yeah, that's most consumers, right? So that's the good news, is you can always find out stuff about them, because most of them have no clue how to change their privacy settings. But please keep in mind that you should have some of your stuff publicly visible, because consumers are looking for you. And when they search your name, Facebook's algorithms are so strong that your page on Facebook is going to come up near the top, especially if you don't have a super common name. Like, if your name is Julie Smith, I apologize, there's probably a lot of you. But if you don't have a super common name, then there's a chance that you're going to be very visible at the top of that page. So give the public something to see. Think of it as a networking opportunity. Think of it as starting that conversation at the cocktail party, right? It's the cocktail party before the dinner party. Create trust and authenticity and credibility with consumers. And the nice thing is, every time that you post, you can choose if that post is friends only or if it's publicly visible. So this is great. Facebook started this a couple years ago. So if you're posting pictures of your kids or your grandkids and you really don't want the whole world to see them, make it friends only. But then when you're posting something about a great meal you had at your favorite local restaurant, or maybe you wrote a really great blog post about the current state of the market, or how to be a buyer navigating a low inventory market right now, make that one public. Put stuff out there and make sure it's not all real estate related. Because you're not going to walk into a cocktail party and only talk about real estate, hopefully. I mean, I know it's hard. With my husband in the business, we rarely talk about anything else. It gets a little boring at our house. But you're going to be putting some stuff on social media that's not about real estate. Give them something to know about you so that when you walk in the door, they feel like they know you already. Because if they feel like they know you, they're going to already feel like they can trust you. And that adds credibility to the appointment, the fact that they're allowing you into their home or they're taking time out of their day to meet with you. You've started that cocktail party conversation already. It was one-sided because they're just reading your stuff, but then you continue it once you meet in person. And then, of course, use Facebook to continue that networking once they're already your client or once they're your past client. Don't discount how important Facebook can be for you to get great information about your clients. Not only can you find their birthdays and sometimes their wedding anniversaries, which allows you to send them cards. If you didn't get their birthday or their anniversary when you were working with them, you can find it on Facebook usually, which means you can send them a card in the mail. Make sure they're still married if you send out anniversary cards. Although sometimes you send that anniversary card and they call you and they're like, yeah, about that. We were about to call you because we need you to sell the house because we're getting divorced. And sometimes that's 2 or even 3 transactions, right? Sell, buy. Or my personal record is 4 because we had to sell their house. The wife needed to buy one. The husband's girlfriend needed to sell her house so that they could buy one together. That was an interesting closing day of trying to navigate them in and out of that closing attorney's office. But you can learn things about your clients. Learn their hobbies. What do they like? Where are they going? Where are they eating? I love the fact that you can see a pattern. Like if they're like me and they're like, we're back at Foundation again for our 3rd night in 2 weeks. We love this restaurant. What do you want? What might you do? Send them a little gift card. Hey, I saw that you love this restaurant. Why don't you and your husband have a meal on me? Right? A nice little unexpected touch. You can see things like when they announce that they're having a baby, when their kids are graduating. And this is all PR for you. Because why? They're going to talk about it. They're going to say, my realtor's so cool. She saw that we talked about how much we love this restaurant. She sent us a gift card. Or can you believe that my realtor saw that we announced that we were having a baby and she sent me a baby gift? She sent me a gift card to Babies R Us, or whichever one is still open. I don't know. They seem to be closing in droves. You can see when they announce engagements. You can see where they're going on their honeymoon, right? You can see everything on social media. If you're not using it to give your clients little unexpected pieces of joy that you hand deliver or you put into their mailboxes for them, then you're missing a huge opportunity. You're missing a way to keep the PR going long after the closing is over. Would you agree? How many of you do that already? How many of you are doing treasure hunts in Facebook? That is a great use of your time on social media. Getting sucked in and looking at pictures of people's vacations and videos of puppies, if you're not doing anything with that information, is just a time suck. Using it, putting your clients into lists. How many of you have your clients organized into a list? This is a great thing on Facebook. If you go to your personal profile and you click on friends, where it says, where you can see all of your friends, Facebook gives you the option to create lists. So next to every single person's name is a drop-down menu. Your homework assignment, should you choose to accept it, is to go into that friends list of yours and create a list of clients. You can name it anything you want. We have a couple. We have A+ clients. Those are the ones that come back to us time and again. They refer us to people. And then we have ones that are all of just clients in general. When you go to your news feed, you can choose to just see that list so that now your time on Facebook is more productive. If I don't choose to look at just my client list, my Facebook feed is 90% other realtors, which is great. I love to see what you guys are doing. But honestly, you're not going to buy or sell a house with me. And you might not ever have a chance to refer me a client. So I want to be interacting with those people who are going to need me to be top of mind. And then, of course, you can share articles and things of interest for them, and it's great to have excuses and reasons to get in touch. And that is just a little bit of PR for you, and it's chances for you to get face-to-face, because the internet is great, but the outer net is better. Getting face-to-face, having an excuse to say, hey, I'd love to pop by, I have a little gift for the baby. Or I saw that you got a new dog. You know how I love dogs. I'd like to bring you by a little something. A chance to get face-to-face and stay top of mind. Because traditional networking generally fails, right? Traditional networking is not social. We're either in a room full of people at our Chamber of Commerce or at a Power Core or a BNI event or even at a realtor event, and we're handing out our card to everyone we see. This is a big mistake I see that vendors make. One of your guys from Movement Mortgage actually had a conversation with me up there today, which was amazing. Usually lenders and home inspectors, they're just like giving me a card and walking to the next people because they're like, I got to get everybody a card today. If I don't get a card in everybody's hand, I'm not going to get any business. You know who's going to get my business? The one who has a conversation with me. So think about that. It's so much better for you to hand deliver a baby gift to one client and spend 5 minutes chatting with them on their front porch than to be posting your new listing and how great you are on your Facebook page. It's one-sided. Again, it's either one-sided me on social media, or it's me handing out my card to every single person in the room, and then I'm exhausted and I go home and I wait for the phone to ring. It's not going to happen. It lacks authenticity. He actually impressed me because he didn't let me come on stage with my tag out of my dress. Thank you, Movement Mortgage, for not only having a conversation with me, but making sure that I look presentable. But that kind of thing shows engagement rather than just, I'm trying to get my card in your hand. And then there's no follow-up. It's easier when you go to a networking event or when you see 5 clients in a day to send those 5 thank you notes or to make 5 phone calls to those vendors that you met and say, let's meet for a cup of coffee and continue our conversation. Let's create a relationship. Let's not just think that because I have your card and you have mine that we're going to do business together, because what do you do with those cards when you leave a networking event? You throw them away. Why do we even have business cards anymore? I mean, I end up with stacks and stacks and stacks of them, and then I don't know what to do with them, and I'm not going to put them all into my database, so they go into my other database, which is sitting on the floor next to my desk. So we want to get away from the idea of traditional networking, and Facebook helps us with this. Treasure trove of info. It's a great opportunity to create engagement. Don't just like people's posts, comment on them. Start a conversation, right? Don't post a declarative sentence on your Facebook page. For those of you who don't remember your English from high school, that's just a sentence that states your opinion. Don't post a declarative sentence without asking for other people to give their opinion. Now be careful, because if it's political or religious related, you're opening up a massive can of worms. But there's a reason that Zillow is successful and has so much engagement and following on their Facebook page. It's because they're asking questions. And one thing I've learned from social media is that humans do not lack opinions, right? So there's a reason that when they post a picture of 4 different kitchens and they say, which one is your favorite and why, they get 560 responses. Because everybody has an opinion, and everybody's favorite kitchen is the only one that should ever be a kitchen, and they'll tell you why. You know, they'll say, I love white kitchens because Chip and Joanna Gaines love white kitchens, or they'll say, I hate white kitchens because white is tacky and it's so 80s. But people have opinions. So if you're looking to create engagement, ask questions, right? Then use Facebook to get you face-to-face. All that information that you're collecting, like we talked about, use it for an excuse to invite somebody to coffee or to show up at their house with a little gift. And do the whole, you know, don't go, if you are short on time or you are a person who doesn't like to come up with conversation topics, just don't go inside. You know, use the Brian Buffini trick of, oh, I've got 3 more appointments this afternoon. I don't want to come in and take over your day. I just wanted to make sure that you got this. I have a friend in Columbus, Ohio, who's, it's almost a little creepy and stalkery, but he will walk up to somebody's house when he knows they're not home. This kind of defeats the whole like face-to-face thing, but it's kind of clever too, because he'll walk up and he'll put a little bag on their front doorknob with their little gift in it, whatever he's giving them. And then he'll go back out to the front of the house and he'll snap a picture and he'll text it to his client and he'll say, I was at your house today. Check the front door. And they get home and they're like, what did he leave us on the front door? It's a little creepy. It's not my style, but it works for him, right? So it's got to work with your personality. Or he'll take a selfie in front of their house and be like, look where I was today. But make it work with your personality, whatever you need to do to stay top of mind. And the follow-up is easier when it's information that you've learned from Facebook or when the follow-up is on Facebook. And speaking of face-to-face, how many of you are regularly doing video? How many of you know you should be doing video or someone told you to do video and you think about it a lot and then you just don't do it? One of our goals for 2018, and I will tell you, this is where I fall down on the job. If you go to my YouTube channel, it was funny, I was actually teaching a video class a couple weeks ago in Baton Rouge, and there was an agent in the room. You know, there's always one. I haven't identified who it is today, but we might figure it out. There's always one who's kind of the troublemaker in class. I mean, you guys know each other. You could probably tell me which one is the troublemaker. But there's always one, and he was funny, but he said, he's like, so I went to your YouTube channel, and most of your videos are really old. Why are you teaching us about video? And I said, well, because I think I'm the typical realtor. I'm the one who does video sporadically, but we've gotten a lot better. 2018 is my year for video. I've been shooting a lot more. We actually hired a videographer to do some stuff this year. I've been doing some Facebook Live, like I should. But I'm the typical realtor who says, I'm going to do video. And I think I do it more than I do, but then I look and I'm like, ooh, I didn't shoot anything in all of 2017. But video is important because as we saw in the opening video, by 2018, video will account for over 2/3 of mobile usage. That's this year. That was from a video from 2016. 2/3 of mobile usage, and 2/3 of organizations are increasing spending on video. They're increasing their spending. So, and I look at spending, this obviously means money, but I also look at it as time, right? So we've got to make time. We've got a time block. We've got to figure out a way to put video into our marketing plan. Because here's the thing. We're hard on ourselves. We're way harder on ourselves than any consumer is ever going to be. How many of you don't get on video because you don't like the way you look and or sound on video? Right? And ladies, it's particularly difficult for us. Like, your hair has to look good that day, right? I know, I see people nodding. Your makeup has to look good. I mean, there are days when if you see me wearing a hat, it means I didn't wash my hair that day, maybe not the day before, or the day before that. No, I'm kidding. But so I have every excuse in the book, right? Like, oh, today I'm wearing a hat, so I won't look good, or I won't look the same as I look when I don't wear a hat, or I forgot to put mascara on this morning, or I don't have my lipstick with me today. But consumers aren't going to recognize those things that we see. The advantages of video far outweigh the disadvantages. It's a great way to look at sort of redefining face-to-face. If consumers are stalking you for 2 months to 2 years before they're calling you, don't you want to have the advantage of having gotten face-to-face with them before your competitors? And if they're seeing you on video, they're hearing your voice and seeing your smile, they're seeing your body language, they're looking into your eyes, even though you're not sitting in the room with them. So think about the impact that has. We are very visual creatures. So the impact of having consumers regularly see you on video and hearing your messaging instead of just reading it, when you go on social media, would you rather read 3 paragraphs of someone talking about the real estate market or watch a 30 to 60-second video about it? Absolutely, unless you're my mother. Again, she's the weirdo. She watches commercials and she doesn't like video on social media. So there will be those consumers that want to read your posts. But for the most part, what sucks us in on social media is video and photos. So if you're trying to engage with people, we've got to find a way to have a video strategy. So video for public relations, people love video because they see your smile and hear your voice. It shows your personality. You're not perfect, and that's okay. Consumers don't expect you to be in front of a green screen, reading from a teleprompter, looking perfectly coiffed. They know you're not a newscaster, and that's all right, right? You're going to say, or you're going to, flick your hair out of your eyes, or maybe you don't have lipstick on that day. It's okay. It shows your on-camera skills because, quite frankly, if we go back to our conversation about the media, they're looking for story ideas too. They're looking at photos and videos. They're searching public Facebook pages, especially business pages of people involved in the community like realtors. We get contacted via our business page by journalists who are looking for experts in the community to interview or get a quote from a story. So it shows what you look like in person instead of them just reading your text, your words. And it helps you to build trust, credibility, and likability. Because consumers want to work with people they feel like they're going to like, especially for their biggest financial transaction that might involve riding around in a car with you for hours and days and weeks and months of their lives, right? So they want to find somebody that they feel like they're going to like and they're going to have something in common with. It increases the length of time that they stay on your website. That's important, right? Because the longer they're there, the more they get to know you. It helps you be found. If you're shooting just quick, short videos and throwing them up on YouTube, Google owns YouTube, which means you're twice as searchable, at least. It builds trust and credibility and helps them feel like they know you. I'd rather show you some examples of videos, so we're going to go over this stuff pretty quickly. Always do a couple practice runs. Make sure the lighting and the sound is good. If you're standing outside and you're not wearing a microphone, you're going to hear a lot of like you're in a hurricane. Making sure the light is good. Don't stand in front of a window. You'll look like Alfred Hitchcock in silhouette, right? And stick to your area of expertise. This is a great one. If you're doing frequently asked questions, which I'll show you some examples of, like our friend Raziel Ungar out in Burlingame, California, he has a bunch of frequently asked question videos on his website and on his YouTube channel. And the benefit of that is you know a lot of stuff, right? Realtors love to talk. People ask us the same questions day in and day out, so you're used to giving these answers, right? Why do I need to get a home inspection? Why does my lender require me to get an appraisal? What are closing costs? What's earnest money? How many houses should I look at before I find one? How do I stage my home? How do you list my home? How do you figure out the listing price? Should I do a pre-listing appraisal? You answer these questions all the time. Now you just need to look into the camera and answer them on your smartphone, right? Instant YouTube channel. And the great thing about it is if you want to cover topics that you're not an expert in, get your lender and your title company and your closing attorney and go to them and say, hey, I want to do a quick video on different types of finance, creative financing options, or what is title insurance. And then get them on video and put them on your YouTube channel, so now it's not all your face all the time. Plus, you're not going to talk about something that maybe is not your area of expertise. And how should we be using video? I love what Lee Brown in Charlotte, North Carolina does. She does videos as lead response. So when a lead comes in, her team knows that they should send them a quick video introducing themselves. Think about the impact of that with these consumers who are sending the same message. They're clicking all 4 of the people on the top right-hand side of the Zillow page, right? And they're sending the same message to all of them. Probably 75% of the agents they reach out to aren't going to respond anyway. But if you're the one who sends them a quick video that says, hey, this is Lee Brown in Charlotte, North Carolina. You sent me an email about 123 Main Street. I'm going to get back to you with a bunch of information about schools and taxes and the specs of the listing. And I want you to go ahead and reach out to me and let me know when you'd like to see this house. That's impactful. That's different than the one who's going to be calling them when they're at work and calling them when they're trying to eat dinner and calling them and they're not going to answer the phone anyway. Video testimonials from clients, this is huge. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Frequently asked questions, or as I call them, frequently answered questions. Neighborhood videos, these have more shelf life than listing videos. Think about, especially in a low inventory market, if your listings are selling quickly and you spend a lot of time and money shooting a listing video, what happens once that listing sells in 2 days? You can't really use it anymore, right? You might use it to get more listings, but the actual listing video goes away. And if you're doing listing videos, I want you to think about doing them differently. A photo slideshow is not a video, okay? And just a walkthrough of a house may not be enough to set you apart. So I'll show you some examples. Videos of events that you do. If you're doing a blood drive, or you're doing an event for a rescue, a dog rescue, or you're doing, I know, Sasha, didn't you foster some puppies? And I mean, so I love going to Sasha's, just her personal profile, because I get to see like cute, cuddly little ragamuffin puppies all the time, because she's fostering them, and she has a sweet puppy who had some health problems, and so we got to follow his adventure. Do you think that builds trust and likability from someone who might be looking at her page and thinking about calling her? Absolutely. I think that that's huge. So giving consumers something to see, a glimpse into your life, and in moderation, do videos about you, like those, or videos that are just for fun. So I want to show you a couple of examples. We won't watch full videos, but what I will do is when I give you the link later at the end, all links to all of the videos that I show will be there so that you can watch them in their entirety. But I wanted to make sure that I showed you a variety of examples. Some are professionally shot, some are not. Because what I think the power of video is such that it doesn't come down to the quality so much as the content. As long as the content is good and it's not completely dark or the sound isn't completely awful. So this first one is we do, instead of closing gifts, we do a donation to a charity of our client's choice. And at the end of the year, we do big check presentations to the charities, and we try to give them some airtime on our blog and through video by getting them on video to talk about what their charity does. So I believe this one is the one at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. Not professionally shot.
I'm sitting here at Children's Healthcare of Atlanta with Abby Marcinko, who is the Foundation Program Coordinator for Children's Miracle Network. So tell us a little bit about where our donations went for 2014.
So last year, all of our 2014 donations go to support our unreimbursed care here at Children's. So if any patient family comes into our hospital, regardless of their ability to pay, we will accept them and treat them. So last year we incurred over $94 million in unreimbursed clinical care costs. So all of our communities.
So obviously an early-ish video, right? One of the first ones we did, shot by my husband, literally holding his iPhone in the lobby of the hospital. So there's ambient noise. It's not perfect. I obviously have some annoying on-camera traits like fiddling with my hands that I need to work with. So it's not perfection. But we shared this, Children's Miracle Network shared it, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta shared it. It got a lot of views just by the share ratio on Facebook on different pages. So it was great PR, not just for us, but for the hospital itself, which will accept any child, whether they have the ability to pay or not. So she goes on to talk about that. It's also a little too long. You should keep your videos probably under about 2 minutes. But so we had some bumps in the road in our learning. This is one of our newest concepts for our luxury videos, and I promise the videos won't all be mine. For our luxury videos and for our listings, even though listing videos don't have a lot of shelf life, we wanted to do something different. I didn't just want to do a video walkthrough of the house. We do a Facebook Live walkthrough of every single listing, which is literally me with my iPhone. I do a quick intro standing in front of the house, and then I walk through the house and I talk about the features. Again, it's not professionally shot, but it gets the viewership on Facebook. The caveat with Facebook Live is you want those videos to be longer because the longer it's live, the more people Facebook is going to inform, like, hey, Maura is live right now. So where you want to keep your recorded videos under about 2 minutes, you want your Facebook Live videos to go much longer. So it's okay if it's 5 or 8 or 10 minutes long. People might not watch the whole thing, but it'll bring them in as viewers while the live video is going on. But this is a new idea. And I will say, we weren't the first to come up with this. There's an agent in Toronto who did something similar. A friend of mine, Paula Monthofer in Flagstaff, Arizona, did a really adorable one. But the idea is to let the house tell its story. And we actually, fortunately or unfortunately, we sold this house in the second day at the open house to a couple who said, we came to see this house because the pictures looked great, but the video was amazing, and we knew we wanted to see this house in person. And that was that made the $1,000 that I spent shooting the video worthwhile, because even though now it's a sold listing, we can use this to get new listings of a similar type. Oh shoot. Can you hit play for me? I'm sorry. Thank you. It was awkward to be in my client's bed, just so you know, in a bathrobe. That's my husband. The actors were really inexpensive. And I love that shot. It was 47 degrees on this day, and you'll see in a minute why that matters. He was not amused by this idea. So the idea is that, yes, there's people, and you're not really supposed to see our faces or know who we are, but the house is kind of the main character in a day of the life of the house. And so we're shooting 2 more next week, and I'm really excited about them because I feel like what it does is it sets us apart from what other people in our market are doing, even though I'm not the first one to ever do it, obviously. We're very rarely the first people to ever do something, right? I mean, we get ideas from our realtor friends around the country, or we see somebody in a different industry do it. But what I love is that it's definitely something different than what's happening in my market. And it has garnered us a lot of good listing lead attention. So when you're doing video that's very, very different for a listing, in my mind, it's a tool to get the next listing or the next 5 listings. It's not necessarily meant to sell the house, right? Although in this case, we were lucky, it did. This is our friend Raziel out in Burlingame. He does a lot of these frequently asked questions videos. His are professionally shot.
We're watching Burlingame Properties TV, and today we're going to talk
But yours don't have to be.
What are closing costs and what can I generally expect to pay? So closing costs is the additional cash to close that you'll need to pay at the end of the transaction. In addition to the purchase price. So let's say you're buying a home for $1 million. It'd be pretty reasonable to expect that you might have some closing costs, which can be anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. On a smaller sale, say $500,000, it could be anywhere from $7,000 to $8,000.
So he goes on to talk about what closing costs are. His video is obviously professionally shot, but you could do this sitting at your desk with your phone on a tripod, right? You don't have to have all the fancy branding and the intro and the outro and all the fanciness. You just need to get your face on the video. You just need to be getting out in front of people and making sure they're seeing that you are a credible source of information and a reliable source of information, so they will consistently keep coming back. I want to show you this neighborhood video. This is a friend of ours, Brian Copeland in Nashville, Tennessee. A lot of you probably know him. I totally copied this idea, but I wanted to show you one of his. This, again, is professionally shot, but he says you could do this with your iPhone. This is giving an idea of what it's like to live in the markets where you work. So rather than shooting listings, you're shooting about the community, right? So you're showing, what do streets in the neighborhood look like? What is the shopping and the dining like? What is it like to move there and live there and experience life living in that area, especially if I'm relocating in? And what we did was we shot about 10 or 12 of these. Some of them we used a videographer. Some of them we ended up getting better and better and shooting ourselves. But now when we get a relocation client, and I don't necessarily mean like from a reload company, but just someone who says, I'm moving from California, blah, blah, blah. When we send them, after our initial phone call, we'll send them the link to the areas that they're considering moving. And because we'll say, we want to give you an idea of what it's like to be here before you even get here.
I'm Megan Manley.
I'm Brad Copeland.
And I'm Brian Copeland, and welcome to Nashville. Cleveland and McFerrin Park are sister neighborhoods on Nashville's hot east side. Residents love the pedestrian-friendly sidewalks, huge parks, and proximity to downtown Nashville. You can be in the heart of downtown by bicycle within 5 minutes and by vehicle within 2 minutes.
You can expect all the charm of historic homes like Foursquares, Victorians, and bungalows that you'll find in the 37206 zip code where Laughlin Springs and Eastwood neighbors are located, but at the fraction of the cost.
Within a mile, you'll be able to enjoy the best burger and beer garden in Nashville. Enjoy a night of fine dining, or take the kids out for ice cream or retro goodies.
Expect very friendly and active neighborhood associations. Both associations meet regularly and have excellent listservs and Facebook groups.
Cleveland and McFerrin Parks are located west of Ellington Parkway.
So obviously, please don't drive and shoot video at the same time. There was a driver and a videographer, but a lot of that you could do with a smartphone. You can stand and pan a view of a park. You can pan a view of a street view instead of doing it driving down the road. And what I love about the way that he shoots these videos is he doesn't mention specific store names or restaurant names because those can change. He talks about great local shopping, local dining. In some of his other videos, he talks about big box grocery stores and small local markets. So even if those change names and come and go, you're still retaining the feel. You know, Safeway might buy Kroger, but there'll still be a big box grocery store there, right? They talk about proximity to downtown Nashville. They talk about bikeability. They talk about the prices being below the national average, which they don't expect to change. So for 3 to 5 years, you've got some good shelf life without mentioning actual dollar amounts. So it's showing that you're the local expert without giving too many specific details that would make the shelf life shorter. And then this is my friend Greg in Green Bay, and I love this video, and I just wanted to show it really quickly because it shows that even if you're just having random real estate thoughts as you're driving down the road, but please don't do it while you're driving. He does, and it makes me nervous every time I watch it. Also, I'm going to give the disclaimer that he says realtor, but we've corrected him now, and he no longer does that. But it's my pet peeve. But I love this video because it's so incredibly random. But he said the number of hits he got on it and the number of listing calls he got was a pretty spectacular.
All right, guys, Green Bay Greg here. You know, I want to talk to you about something that's been happening a lot lately. I've been showing a ton of houses, and I'll tell you what, I've been running into a lot more houses that plain just stink. And I'm not talking just bad prices, I'm talking actually physically stinking. And I'll tell you what, I don't understand when somebody's putting their house on the market how a realtor can actually not explain and have a realistic conversation with their client about the damage that they're doing to their property from a selling standpoint just by the smell alone. And these things.
And he goes on to talk about that when he has a buyer, if they walk into a house that smells bad and his client doesn't want to stay, they won't even look at the rest of the house. So it's totally random, but it's true, right? Have you walked into a stinky house and said, like, I'm just not going to stay in this house? So even your most random real estate thoughts, get them on video and get it out there when you just have a thought that you think might help a seller or a buyer in the future. And of course, I know we're wrapping up. I'm going to run out of time in about 12 minutes, but we want to talk about letting your clients do your marketing. Tony Shee is the CEO of Zappos, and he says, we take most of the money we could have spent on paid advertising, and instead we put it back into the customer experience. This is what we were talking about before, not just giving them a great experience while they're working with you, buying and selling a house, but the experience of those little surprises that when you surprise them with knowing when they're having a baby or when they're engaged or when they're getting married or when they're graduating from college, and being someone who acknowledges that. We have a client, even just birthdays. We have a 25-year-old client who bought his first townhouse last year, and we send out birthday cards. And, you would think from everything we hear about the dreaded millennial, I'm married to one, so I'm allowed to say that, that things like birthday cards they're just not gonna see that as being very special or worth your time. Well, our 25-year-old client, when he turned 25, he got a birthday card from us, as he will every year. And I looked down one day and I see that his numbers popped up on my phone, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, he's only going to call me if something is wrong, right? Otherwise, it's text and Facebook Messenger or whatever. And so I answered thinking, what blew up, right? Water heater, furnace, something had to have gone wrong. And he said, I just want to thank you for that birthday card that you sent me. He said, do you know something? That's the only birthday card I got this year. Even my own mother only wished me happy birthday on Facebook. So don't discount those little moments of joy that you put in their mailbox or on their hanging from their door. That's great PR for you. He's not going to forget the year that I'm the only one who sent him a birthday card. So let your customers be your marketing. Make sure that 100% of the time you are asking for your clients to write a review or a testimonial. If you're not asking 100% of the time, if it's not systematized into your business, you're missing huge marketing opportunities. How many of you ask every single time without fail? Good. Good. How many of you know that you should? And you're going to from now on? Yes. Put it into a post-closing checklist. I know you have a checklist that gets you from contract to close, right? All those little things that you have to do to stay legal and keep the contract moving and get your client to the closing table. It's just as important to have a post-closing checklist of all the things you should be doing to stay in touch, because that's public relations. That's you continuing to engage with your client, continuing to stay top of mind with them, even when you know they're not looking to buy or sell a house right now. Who is? Their colleagues, their family, their friends, their Facebook friends. So similar to you deciding where you want to spend your time and your energy and your money online, by knowing that that's where your sphere is, that's where you need to be asking for those reviews to come from. It comes from going back to tracking your business. Knowing that if most of your business is coming from Yelp, that's where you want to send those people to write you reviews. If most of your business comes from Zillow or most of your business comes from Realtor.com, that's where you want those reviews to be posted. Because again, 90% of buyers trust peer reviews and recommendations, even if they don't know the person who wrote the review. Think Yelp, think TripAdvisor. People are going and finding reviews for restaurants and service providers. Our biggest shock is what a gold mine Yelp has been for us. We did $350,000 plus in GCI just from leads from Yelp last year alone. And that's huge. That was just under half of my business. And our average sale price is about $395. The average price of a buyer or seller lead that comes in from Yelp for us is $595. They're higher quality leads. They very much less frequently interview more than one agent. So if they interview us, they almost always go with us because they feel like the Yelp reviews have more credibility than other places. Yelp users really trust and love Yelp. So 90% of buyers trust peer reviews and recommendations, and only 14% trust advertising. That tells us that what our clients say about us is way more important than what we say about ourselves. And not only that, in order to get clients to write those great reviews, we have to exceed their expectations, because there's two times that consumers will take the time to go online and write you a review, right? It's when you've failed to meet their expectations. In other words, they think that you were awful, or you've exceeded their expectations. It's very rare that a consumer will go online if they just feel like you did what you were supposed to do, right? Then what do you do with those recommendations? Well, hopefully you're also posting them in other places, like your website or your Facebook business page, right? You can create an image. If you use realsatisfied.com, it'll automatically create a shareable image that it'll put on Realtor.com, or it'll share your review to Realtor.com, but it'll automatically share if you ask it to Facebook or to Twitter. But we just brand them ourselves and copy and paste each client's review and put it on our Facebook business page as an image. Then we can boost it. We can put money behind it. We can put $5 to have it show up in people's feeds every once in a while if it's a really good one. These are examples of those little moments of joy that we like to put when we see that somebody got a dog, or when we saw that Sasha's poor little pup was having some health issues. We have a locally owned artisan dog biscuit company that we source dog biscuits from. We send out 5 to 8 little doggy care packages a week with dog biscuits to our clients who adopt puppies, to our clients who are fostering dogs, to our clients that we see if their dog had surgery or was sick, or they got a new pet. Or the one we sent out last week, which really went over really well with our client, was our client is pregnant and on bed rest, and she showed her giant Great Dane laying in bed taking care of her and in training to be the nanny. And so we sent her dog some biscuits and said, you know, you're such a good girl, you're going to make such a great big sister. And she called us and she was like, that was the sweetest ever. So, you know, those little moments of joy are great PR, because your clients are going to post them on Facebook. I love getting text messages like this. Thank you for finding my mommy and daddy a house with a big yard and a fence so they could adopt me. Shakira got some biscuits after that text. That's how we found out that Shakira was adopted. We have little baby onesies. I totally stole this idea from Koki Adasi in DC, but it says, I got my crib from Buy, Sell, Live Atlanta. We have little onesies printed up, and then our clients send us pictures and post them on Facebook of their babies wearing them. I saw another cute one the other day that actually a lender in our market is doing. It says future home buyer, which I thought was pretty cute with their logo. But don't think that those little moments of joy first of all, the value is in the touch, obviously. The added value is when they post it on Facebook. We send out way more than actually get posted, but I almost like the private thank yous even better, because they're a little more personal than what they might post on your Facebook page or tag you in. I'm not going to show you all of the examples. I have 3 examples of client testimonials. I'm going to skip this one, not because it's not good. I'll put it on the web page that I give you. This is Philip Becker. If you go to YouTube and search Becker Properties, well, this isn't Philip, obviously. This is one of his clients. But if you go on Facebook and search, on YouTube and search Becker Properties, his YouTube channel is just packed full of client testimonials. They have a great process where they ask for a review after every closing. And some clients are just going to write, oh, it was great working with Philip, I would recommend him. But some are really going to tell their story. And the ones that really tell their story, they reach back out to and they say, we'd love to get your story on video. Would you mind coming to the office, or we can come to you? And then after the client shoots the video, they send them a thank you note with a $50 gift card to a local restaurant and say, we appreciate your time. Here, go out and have dinner on us for agreeing to be on video with us. So that's a great tactic. But the 2 that I wanted to show you are both Greg Delaire's in Green Bay, and then I'll wrap this up. But what I want to show you is the difference between when you shoot the client testimonial video and it's professionally shot and it's got an intro and an outro and fancy lighting, and then when you just shoot it, when you go to their office and you just shoot it, or their home and you just shoot it with your iPhone. And I think it's a really good indicator that the content is more important than the production value. And you'll see, so the first one I'm going to show you is one of his professionally shot ones, and then the second one is one of his first client testimonial videos ever.
We listed our house. We actually only had one showing, and that showing took care of the job. They made an offer to purchase, and that was the end of it. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the video and the pictures and everything were so good that people really had a good idea as to what they were walking into before they even came to my house. Basically, it was a pretty smooth process. By the time we got through all that, in a matter of one day, you came back in, shot a video, and move forward. My uncle actually said, we looked at that video online, and I'm not saying you don't have a nice house, but that video makes that place look phenomenal, he said. So that was a pretty good compliment as to how good that video actually was,
So, great video, right? Good story. He tells a little joke about his uncle. It's nicely shot. The lighting is great. He's obviously mic'd. But I also really love this second one, which is very clearly an early video of his.
Greg was amazing. He saved me $19,000. I was looking to buy some land, and I'd found it. I'd placed an offer previously on it, and it was rejected. I talked to Greg about it, and Greg looked out for me, heard about a good way for me to put an offer in at the price that I wanted, and got it accepted. Negotiated and got it accepted for me and saved me $19,000. He was amazing.
Now, depending on who you are, the content in either one of those videos could get you to pick up the phone, right? I want to know how Greg saved her $19,000, and could he do that for me? I also want this agent who's going to shoot great video that's going to make my house sell in a day, right? So don't feel like you have to have the budget for a professional videographer, or you have to have the skills and the know-how to do fancy lighting and edit. The consumer is going to pay less attention to the production value and more attention to the content. And I think that's the important thing that gets more of us up and actually doing video, and a little less afraid of what our hang-ups could be I mean, you got to get over not liking yourself on video, but. And then a little bit about Facebook Live, live previews of listings, open house announcements, updates about important issues. I'm not going to show you this video, but we had a big bill in front of our state Senate over the last month that we've been fighting for that limits the homeowner association property management companies from price gouging for closing statement letters, and it's been a big problem in our market. So I was doing a lot of Facebook Live videos about it, updating it, because we were getting our clients and even our brokers were saying these property management companies are sending out emails to our boards of directors and saying that the Senate and the Realtor Association is trying to raise their HOA dues. So they were sending out misinformation. So we were doing this Facebook Live campaign. It'll be posted on the page, but for about a $50 spend, by the end of the day, this was actually up to almost 5,000 views. So think about if you put a little bit of money behind in Facebook advertising or in sponsored posts, the amount of attention that you can get for your listings, or if there's an important issue that you want to tell consumers about and really position yourself as the local expert. And then lastly, don't discount giving people a little glimpse of who you really are, because you are so much more than a realtor. So this is kind of what Abby's husband was talking about, hey, you should definitely ask her about bourbon and bacon. This has changed a little bit now because I do mention my beagles, but don't feel like your bio has to be, Maura Neal is a second-generation realtor who combines her love of the real estate, blah, 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 blah. It can be, hey, I really like shoes, and I grew up doing musical theater, and if you want to go karaokeing one night, I'm your girl, and we'll drink some good craft beer, and we'll eat some bacon, and I'll talk to you about my beagles, and it can be a glimpse of who you are. Give them common ground, give them something to talk about. So this stuff will be on the site, and you can get it because I'm going to go over time, but I want to make sure that you have this link. Listen closely so I don't get mean emails from you. This link is not live yet. If you go to it now, it will tell you page not found, because I was having website issues this morning, and my husband is fixing them as we speak. So this link will be live before I get on my plane today, which is at like 5:30 or 6 o'clock. I promise. So write it down, save it for later, and then go there tonight. And because I like to practice what I preach, there will be just a couple of questions. This link will bring you to a survey asking for your name and email. Again, I have nothing to sell, but I do put out a semi-monthly agent-only newsletter with tips and tricks and books I'm reading and little marketing ideas and stuff that we're doing. You can sign up or not sign up. If you say, don't send it to me, I won't send it to you. But if you want to sign up, you totally can. And again, I've got nothing to sell. But then once you fill that out and hit submit, it will bring you to a page with links to all these videos, links to these slides, links to some great public relations articles, those sample press releases, etc. So it'll all be there, but this link will be live before I get on my plane at like 5:30. So just don't send me nasty messages and say, I went to your link at 2 and it's not up. Because you're right, it's not. It has been such a pleasure to be with you guys today. I hope you learned one thing you can do to sell more houses this year. Have a great day.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you. Oh my goodness, I'm like on brain overload. Was that not fantastic? Let's give another round of applause to Maura. I really love the way those little things that you identify yourself, on Facebook, and she referred to herself as a grammar nerd, which, it's like, that's really cool. I have to say, I love Grammarly that you mentioned about. I use it all the time, and it saved me many times. I really thought I could compose a pretty good email or text or whatever myself, but this has saved me. Thank you so much. We just have a couple other announcements. Due to our venue availability, please note that the June general membership meeting will be at the Farmington Country Club on Thursday, June 7th from 8:30 to 10:15. and we'll have a coffee and light continental breakfast like we've had today. So be just a different venue for next month. That's our June meeting. July and August we do not meet. So then in September we'll have some more surprises coming your way as far as location. From the National Association of Realtors, for that next meeting at Farmington, we actually have 3 speakers. So from NAR, we have Nobu Hata, who is the Director of Digital Engagement, and Chad Curry, who's the Director of CRT Labs, which is a research group for Realtor technology. And I have to say, I believe it was our WCR meeting that we featured that. When was that? Last year, maybe? It was amazing. So I hope all of you come out, spread the word on that. It's going to be very interesting to have a look on the inside of that Realtor technology. We will also have Nelson County Economic Development Director Maureen Kelly to provide an update on the county's current and new developments. So we hope you will enjoy us. And thank you, everyone, for attending today's big stage event. And I don't think I have to adjourn the meeting because it really wasn't supposed to be a meeting. It's a big stage event. So anyway, thank you all. Have a great day and enjoy May.